The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light that had witnessed 1,000 years of galactic peace. Inside, representatives from 40 different species sat in their assigned seats, each one watching the center platform where Ambassador Thelver stood. The reptilian diplomat's scales reflected the cold blue light as he gestured toward the holographic display above him. G1 sat in the human section, her hands folded calmly on the armrest. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now, and she had learned to read the mood of the council. Today that mood was tense. Beside her, Yunwu stood at attention in his security uniform, his eyes constantly scanning the room for threats that would never come. The council chamber was neutral ground. Violence here was unthinkable, but words could be weapons too. Thelver's voice echoed through the chamber. Members of the council, I stand before you today with a warning that cannot be ignored. The human species has expanded into 14 new systems in the past year alone. Their population grows at rates we have never seen. Their ships multiply like cells dividing. And most concerning of all, they show an adaptability that defies our understanding of biological limitations. The hologram shifted, showing images of human colonies, farms on ice worlds, cities built inside asteroids, underwater settlements on water planets. Each image showed humans thriving in conditions that would kill most species. Look at these images, Thelver continued. Humans have only had faster-than-light travel for 50 years. 50 years. Most, species take 500 years to colonize even 10 systems. But humans, they spread like wildfire. They bend every environment to their will. They refuse to accept limitations. Yuan remained still, her face expressionless. She had expected this. The older species always feared the newcomers. It was natural. It was also annoying. From across the chamber, a deep voice boomed out. So they multiply quickly. So what? High Commander Reltoxin rose from his seat, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture of dismissal. The Dravik commander was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with armored skin that gleamed like polished stone. His empire controlled 200 star systems and commanded the most powerful military fleet in known space. The Salith fear competition, Reltoxin said with a laugh. Your own empire stopped growing centuries ago. You see humans building and expanding and you feel threatened. This is jealousy, not wisdom. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Thelver's eyes narrowed. This is not about jealousy, Commander. This is about survival. I have studied human history. I have read their records. Do you know what I found? A species that has survived 5 mass extinction events on their homeworld. A species that fought wars with primitive weapons that killed millions of their own kind. A species that split the atom and nearly destroyed themselves, yet somehow pulled back from the brink. The hologram changed again, showing ancient human battles. Swords clashing, guns firing, nuclear explosions blooming like deadly flowers. They are survivors, Thelver said quietly. But more than that, they are the most dangerous kind of survivor. They do not just endure hardship, they learn from it. They weaponize it. Every time they face extinction, they come back stronger, and they never, ever stop fighting. Yuan decided it was time to speak. She stood slowly, her movements calm and deliberate. Ambassador Thelver paints an interesting picture, but he leaves out important details. Yes, humanity has a violent past. We do not hide from it, but we learned from those mistakes. We created the United Earth Government specifically to prevent future wars among ourselves. We have followed every council protocol. We have respected every territorial boundary. We seek only peaceful coexistence with our galactic neighbors. Her voice was steady, reasonable. She had practiced this speech many times. We are not conquerors, she continued. We are explorers, we are builders, we are traders. We offer friendship to all species who will accept it. Reltoxin laughed again, louder this time. Well spoken, Ambassador. The Salith waste our time with paranoid fantasies. Humans are no threat to anyone. They have small ships, primitive weapons, and limited resources. My empire could crush all human colonies in a single campaign if we chose to do so. The chamber fell silent. That was a direct threat, barely disguised. Jiwan felt Hyunwoo tense beside her. She touched his arm lightly, a signal to remain calm. She looked directly at Raltoxin. The Dravik Empire has no reason to consider such action. We have done nothing to provoke hostility. Then you will have no problem accepting our terms, Raltoxin said. Humanity will cease all expansion beyond your current borders. You will submit your military fleet to Dravik inspection and oversight. You will accept advisors from the Empire to guide your development. These terms are generous. I suggest you accept them. The chamber erupted in voices. Some species protested the harsh terms. Others remained silent, watching to see what humans would do. Jiwan stood perfectly still for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. We refuse. Silence crashed down like a hammer. Humanity will not submit to foreign oversight, Jiwan said clearly. We will not stop exploring the galaxy that belongs to all species equally. We will not accept restrictions that apply to no other council member. If the Dravik Empire has concerns about our expansion, we are happy to discuss reasonable compromises. But we will not surrender our sovereignty. Raltoxin's face darkened. You should reconsider, Ambassador. The Empire does not make offers twice. Neither do humans, Jiwan replied. The High Commander stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked toward the exit. His delegation followed, their footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. As the session ended, Jiwan gathered her materials. A message appeared on her datapad, marked private. It was from Thelver. She opened it. Ambassador Jiwan, I tried to warn them about your species. I hope I am wrong. I hope you truly seek only peace. But I have studied your history too carefully. I know what humans become when they are threatened. I know what you are capable of when you fight for survival. The Dravik think you are weak because you are small. They will learn the truth soon enough. When they do, I only hope the galaxy survives the lesson. Jiwan deleted the message and looked at Hyunwoo. Contact Earth Command. Tell them the Dravik are positioning ships near our colonies. Tell them war is coming. Hyunwoo nodded and began sending the encrypted message. Jiwan looked out at the stars beyond the chamber windows. Somewhere out there, human families were living peaceful lives on distant worlds. They were farming, building, raising children, dreaming of the future. She would do whatever it took to protect them. Whatever it took, even if it meant proving Thelver right. Dae-yun was reviewing crop reports when the alarms started screaming. He looked up from his desk, confused for a moment. The colony of New Jeju had never had an emergency drill scheduled for today. Then his communication panel lit up with urgent messages and he understood. This was not a drill. He ran to the observation deck. Other colonists were already there, pointing up at the sky. Dae-yun did not need to ask what they were looking at. Even through the daylight, he could see them. Dark shapes hanging in the upper atmosphere like birds of prey. Dravik warships. Dozens of them. Get me a channel to the lead ship, Dae-yun ordered his communication officer. His hands were shaking, but he kept his voice steady. He was the colony administrator. 20,000 people depended on him to stay calm. The channel opened. A Dravik face appeared on the screen, all sharp angles and cold eyes. Human colony designated New Jeju. You are in violation of territorial agreements. Surrender immediately and prepare for occupation forces. Wait, Dae-yun said quickly. There must be a mistake. We have authorization from the council to settle this system. Our papers are all in order. Let me send you the documentation. There is no mistake, the Dravik officer replied. All human expansion is hereby terminated by order of High Commander Raltoxin. You have 1 hour to evacuate non-essential personnel. After that, we will begin pacification operations. The channel closed. Dae-yun stared at the blank screen. Pacification operations. That was a military term for destruction. They were going to destroy his colony. They were going to kill his people. He pressed the colony-wide alarm. This is Administrator Dae-yun. All civilians proceed immediately to the underground shelters. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Military personnel, report to your stations. We are under attack. High above the colony, Minji was already strapping into her fighter cockpit. She was the leader of New Jeju's defense squadron, 12 pilots with 12 light combat ships. They were meant for asteroid mining and pirate defense, not for fighting a military fleet. But they were all New Jeju had. All wings, this is Minji, launch immediately. Formation Delta 7. We need to buy time for the evacuation. Her fighter lifted off the landing pad and shot into the sky. 11 more fighters followed her. 12 small ships rising to face 30 massive warships. The odds were impossible. But Minji had learned about impossible odds in her military training on Earth. Instructors had taught her about the old wars, the ancient battles where humans had fought against enemies with better weapons and greater numbers. They had taught her that humans win by being unpredictable. Split into 3 ship elements. Minji ordered. Use the asteroids for cover. Hit and run tactics only. Do not engage in direct combat. Our job is to delay them, not defeat them. The fighters scattered. Minji led her element toward the nearest Dravik cruiser. It was enormous, probably carrying 1,000 crew members. Her fighter could fit in its cargo bay. But size was not everything. She armed her missiles and dove toward the ship's engine section. The Dravik point defense systems opened fire, filling space with energy bolts. Minji's fighter jinked and rolled, dodging most of them. A few hits splashed against her shields. Warning lights flashed. She ignored them and kept diving. At the last moment, she released her missiles and pulled up hard. The missiles struck the cruiser's shield generators. Small explosions bloomed across the hull. Not enough to destroy the ship, but enough to damage it. All elements focus fire on shield generators, Minji called out. Make them work for every meter they advance. The battle became a desperate dance. Human fighters would dart in from the asteroid field, launch their weapons, and disappear back into cover before the Dravik could respond effectively. It was working. 3 Dravik cruisers had damaged shields. 2 destroyers had engine problems. The fleet's advance had slowed, but human fighters were dying too. Minji watched 2 pilots from Second Element get caught by Dravik interceptors. Their ships exploded in bright flashes. 8 fighters left now. On the ground, Daeyeon was coordinating the evacuation. Thousands of colonists were flooding into the underground bunkers. Parents carrying children. Old people helping each other walk. Everyone moving as fast as they could. But there were so many people, and the bunkers could only process so many at a time. How much longer? Daeyeon asked his assistant. We need at least 2 more hours to get everyone to safety, she replied. Daeyeon looked at his chronometer. The Dravik deadline had passed 30 minutes ago. They were running out of time. In space, the Dravik fleet commander had finally lost patience. Enough of these insects. Begin orbital bombardment. Target the colony's power generators first. Massive cannons on the Dravik warships swiveled toward the planet. They began to fire. Minji saw the weapons charging. She knew what was coming. All fighters, kamikaze protocols. Load all remaining ordnance into automated drones. Send them directly at the Dravik capital ships. We need to draw their fire. Minji, those drones are expensive, one of her pilots said. Command will be angry if we waste them. There will not be anyone left to be angry if we do not try, Minji replied. Do it now. The fighters released their automated drones, small unmanned ships loaded with every explosive they had. The drones did not try to dodge or evade. They simply flew straight at the Dravik fleet at maximum speed. The Dravik fleet had to respond. If those drones reached them, the explosions would cause serious damage. They shifted their targeting from the planet to the drones. It bought 3 minutes. 3 precious minutes for more colonists to reach the shelters. Then the drones were destroyed, and the bombardment began. Energy beams lanced down from orbit. They struck the colony's power stations first, just as the Dravik commander had promised. Explosions ripped through the buildings. Secondary blasts followed as fuel reserves ignited. The colony's lights went dark. Dae-yun watched through the observation cameras. His beautiful colony, built over 10 years of hard work, was being destroyed in minutes. "Seal the bunker doors," he ordered quietly. "Everyone who is inside is safe. Everyone else—" He could not finish the sentence. His assistant put a hand on his shoulder. "You saved most of them. 80% made it to the shelters. 80%. That meant 4,000 people had not made it. 4,000 people were still on the surface when the bombardment started. Dae-yun activated the emergency beacon, sending a final message toward Earth. "This is Colony Administrator Dae-yun of New Jeju. The Dravik Empire attacked without provocation. They gave us no chance to surrender peacefully. Most of our people are safe in the bunkers, but the colony itself is destroyed. Send help, send anyone. Please remember us." The message shot into space at faster-than-light speed. It would reach Earth Command in 2 days. In her fighter, Minji watched the bombardment continue. She had 4 fighters left now. 4 fighters against 30 warships. She could keep fighting, keep sacrificing her pilots to buy a few more seconds. Or she could do something else. She opened a channel to the Dravik fleet. "Dravik Commander, this is Fighter Captain Minji. I am surrendering my remaining forces. Stop the bombardment. There are civilians still on the surface." The Dravik commander appeared on her screen. "Your surrender is accepted. Land your fighters immediately." Minji cut the channel and turned to her remaining pilots on their private frequency. "Do not actually land. That was a lie. We are going to make one final run. Set your fighters to autopilot collision course with their flagship. Then eject and use your emergency beacons. Maybe someone will find us. You want us to ram them?" One pilot asked. "It is the only weapon we have left," Minji replied. "Make it count." 4 fighters turned toward the Dravik flagship. They accelerated to maximum speed, flying straight toward the enormous warship. At the last moment, 4 pilots ejected. 4 empty fighters, flying on autopilot, struck the flagship's forward section. The explosions were small compared to the size of the ship, but they damaged the main bridge. They killed the fleet commander. They showed the Dravik that humans would fight to the very end, floating in her escape pod. Minji watched the Dravik fleet regroup. She had bought New Jeju 1 hour. 1 hour of time. She hoped it had been enough. On Earth, Admiral Soo-young received Dae-yun's message. She played it 3 times, her face growing harder with each viewing. Then she called her staff together. "The Dravik have started a war," she said simply. "They attacked New Jeju without declaring their intentions. They bombarded civilians. They gave us no choice but to respond." She looked at each officer in turn. "Prepare the 3rd Fleet for combat operations. Send messengers to all human colonies. Tell them to prepare for siege. And get me everything we have on Dravik military tactics. We are going to war with an enemy that has superior numbers and superior technology. How do we fight them?" One officer asked. Admiral Soo-young smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "The same way humans have always fought when we are outmatched. We adapt, we improvise, we refuse to surrender, and we make them regret starting this war." 6 months into the war, Dr. Taijin sat in his underground laboratory on Mars, studying samples of Dravik biology. Around him, other scientists worked at their stations, all of them focused on the same goal. They needed to find a weakness. Any weakness. The war was not going well. 20 human colonies had fallen to Dravik forces. The enemy had better ships, better weapons, and more soldiers. Every conventional battle ended the same way. Humans fought bravely and died, while Dravik fleets advanced steadily toward Earth. But Dr. Taijin had discovered something interesting. Dravik biology was based on nitrogen compounds rather than carbon like humans. Their bodies processed different chemicals. Their immune systems responded differently to pathogens. And that difference meant they were vulnerable to things that would not affect humans at all. "I think I have it," Taijin said to his assistant. "This bacterium here, it occurs naturally on several human colony worlds. Harmless to us, but to Dravik? It should cause severe respiratory distress, Not fatal, but extremely debilitating. They would be unable to fight effectively. You want to weaponize a disease? His assistant asked quietly. Taijin looked at her. They are bombing our cities. They are killing our children. Yes, I want to weaponize a disease. I want to weaponize everything we have. We are fighting for survival. The assistant nodded slowly. I will prepare the samples for testing. While Dr. Taijin worked on biological weapons, Jihun was leading a different kind of fight. He commanded a special operations team that specialized in infiltration and sabotage. Right now, his team was hiding inside a stolen Dravik cargo ship, waiting to dock with the enemy supply station. Remember the plan? Jihun said quietly to his 12 soldiers. We plant the explosives in the fuel storage area. Set the timers for 2 hours. That gives us time to steal a shuttle and get clear before the station explodes. No unnecessary killing. We are not here for glory. We are here to destroy supplies. The cargo ship docked. Dravik workers began unloading containers, never suspecting that humans were hiding inside some of them. When the workers moved away, Jihun's team emerged silently. They moved through the station like shadows. Avoiding patrols and cameras, it took them 40 minutes to reach the fuel storage area. Another 10 minutes to place the explosive charges. Then they headed toward the shuttle bay. Everything was going according to plan until a Dravik soldier spotted one of Jihun's team members. The alien reached for his communicator to raise the alarm. Jihun did not hesitate. He shot the soldier with a silent weapon, and the Dravik fell. But 2 more soldiers appeared around the corner. The fight was quick and brutal. Jihun lost 2 team members, but the Dravik soldiers died without sending a warning. 10 humans made it to a shuttle and launched. Behind them, the station exploded right on schedule. Flames bloomed in the darkness of space, destroying millions of tons of fuel that the Dravik fleet desperately needed. Another successful mission, one soldier said. Jihun looked at the 2 empty seats in the shuttle. Success has a cost. Remember their names. They died so that others might live. On Earth, Yunji was fighting a different kind of war. She worked in psychological operations, creating messages and broadcasts designed to damage Dravik morale. Her latest project was a video compilation of every Dravik defeat, no matter how small. The video showed human fighters destroying Dravik ships. It showed sabotage supply depots exploding. It showed Dravik prisoners being treated well by humans, contradicting their commander's claims that humans killed all captives. And it showed Dravik casualties being sent home in body bags. We need to get this broadcast into their communication network, Yunji told her team. I want every Dravik soldier to see this. I want them to question why they are fighting. I want them to be afraid. How do we get it into their network? A technician asked. Their security is good, Yunji smiled. We do not hack their military network. We hack their entertainment channels. Soldiers watch shows to relax. We interrupt their shows with our message. By the time their security blocks it, millions of soldiers will have seen it. The plan worked. Yunji's video spread through the Dravik fleet like a virus. Soldiers began talking in whispers. Some questioned their orders, a few even deserted. It was not enough to stop the war, but it planted seeds of doubt. Admiral Su-Yun commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the Indomitable. She stood on the bridge, studying tactical displays that showed Dravik forces advancing on 3 fronts. The situation looked desperate, but Su-Yun had learned something important over the past 6 months. Dravik commanders fought by the book. They followed standard military doctrine. They believed overwhelming force would always win. That predictability was their weakness. Commander Yuna, are the ghost ships ready? Sun asked. Yuna, the chief engineer, nodded. All 12 are programmed and ready to launch. They will look exactly like our carriers on Dravik sensors. They will broadcast fake communications. They will maneuver like real ships. The Dravik will not know they are automated until it is too late. Excellent. Launch them toward Sector 7. Make sure the Dravik scouts detect them. I want the enemy to think we are sending our main battle fleet to defend the colony there. The ghost ships launched. They were old vessels, no longer fit for combat, but equipped with sophisticated electronic. systems that made them appear fully crewed and heavily armed. To Dravik sensors, they looked like humanity's most powerful warships. The Dravik fleet commander took the bait. He diverted 40 ships to intercept what he thought was humanity's main fleet. His own forces moved into Sector 7, ready for a decisive battle. Instead, they found empty ships filled with explosives. The ghost ships detonated when the Dravik fleet got close. The explosions destroyed 15 Dravik warships and damaged 20 more. It was the greatest human victory of the war so far. But Admiral Suyun did not celebrate. She immediately launched her real fleet toward Sector 9, where the Dravik forces were now weakened. All ships maximum speed. We hit them while they are confused and disorganized. No mercy, no hesitation. The Battle of Titan Station lasted 6 hours. Suyun sacrificed half her fleet in a devastating attack. Human ships rammed Dravik cruisers. Fighters loaded with explosives dove into carrier hangars. Boarding teams seized enemy vessels and turned their weapons against their former owners. When the battle ended, the Dravik had lost 40 capital ships. The humans had lost 30. For the first time in the war, humanity had inflicted more damage than they had received, but the cost was terrible. Thousands of human crew members had died. Admiral Suyun walked through the damaged sections of her flagship, looking at the bodies being carried away. Young people who would never go home. Families who would receive notifications that their loved ones had died in service to humanity. Was it worth it? Yuna asked quietly, standing beside her. Suyun watched the medics work. Every battle we win means more colonies have time to evacuate. More civilian ships can escape to safety. More children live to see another day. So yes, it was worth it. Even if it costs us everything. In his command center on the Dravik homeworld, High Commander Raul Toxin received the reports from Titan Station. 40 ships lost. 40 ships. Against an enemy that was supposed to be primitive and weak. He had started this war expecting an easy victory. He had promised his people that humans would surrender within months. Now, 6 months later, the war was turning into a nightmare. Human forces were everywhere and nowhere. They refused to fight fair battles. They used tricks and deception. They weaponized things the Dravik had never considered as weapons. And worst of all, they refused to surrender even when defeat seemed certain. A captured human officer had been brought to Rolotoxin for interrogation. The human was wounded, his uniform burned and torn. But his eyes were still defiant. "Why do you keep fighting?" Rolotoxin demanded. "You must know you cannot win. Your fleet is smaller, your technology is inferior. Surrender, and we will show mercy," the human officer laughed. It was not a happy sound. "You do not understand us at all. Humans do not fight to win. We fight to make you lose. We fight so that even if you destroy every human colony, even if you kill every human soldier, you will remember us. You will remember the price you paid. And you will never, ever threaten another species the way you threatened us." Rolotoxin stared at the human. For the first time since the war began, he felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear, not fear of losing battles or ships. Fear of what humans would do if they were pushed too far. Fear of an enemy that measured victory not in territories conquered but in damage inflicted. "Take him away," Rolotoxin ordered. When the human was gone, the High Commander looked at his tactical display. The war was supposed to be over by now. Instead, it was just beginning. And for the first time, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he had made a terrible mistake. Ambassador Thelver watched the war reports from his homeworld. He had tried to warn them. He had told the Council that humans were dangerous. No one had listened. Now the galaxy was seeing the truth. Humans were not just dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because they adapted, they learned. They turned every disadvantage into a weapon, and they never, ever gave up. 1 year after the war began, Captain Sangwoo stood on the bridge of the Silent Vengeance, a human stealth carrier that existed in no official records. His ship was one of Earth's secret weapons, designed specifically for operations that could never be acknowledged. Today's mission was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. They were going to attack a Dravik fortress world. Status report, Sang-woo ordered quietly. His tactical officer checked the displays. We are in position above Drakkar 4. Orbital defenses have not detected us. The stealth systems are holding. We have a clear shot at the military installations on the surface. Sang-woo nodded. Drakkar 4 was not the Dravik homeworld, but it was close. It was a major military base, home to 300,000 Dravik soldiers and enough weapons to supply 10 fleets. Destroying it would hurt the enemy badly, but it would also cross a line. So far, humans had attacked only military ships and supply depots. They had never directly bombed the Dravik world. Today that would change. Launch the kinetic rods, Sang-woo ordered. Target the ammunition depots, the vehicle factories, and the command center. Nothing else. I do not want civilian casualties if we can avoid them. The Silent Vengeance released a dozen long metal rods from its cargo bay. They were simple weapons, just tungsten bars with guidance systems. No explosives, no warheads. They did not need them. The rods would fall from orbit, accelerating to incredible speeds. When they struck the ground, the kinetic energy would be equivalent to small nuclear weapons. The rods fell silently through the atmosphere. Minutes later, they struck their targets. Explosions bloomed across the military base. Ammunition depots detonated in chains of secondary blasts. Factory buildings collapsed. The command center was simply gone, vaporized by the impact. Sang-woo watched the destruction on his screens. Prepare to jump to light speed. We leave now before their fleet arrives. The Silent Vengeance vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving chaos behind. News of the attack spread through the Dravik Empire within hours. The fortress world of Drakkar 4, considered impregnable, had been devastated by a human strike. Panic spread through the military. If humans could reach Drakkar 4, they could reach anywhere. High Commander Roltoxin called an emergency meeting of his generals. This cannot continue. The humans are like insects. We crush them in one place and they appear in another. We destroy their fleets and they build new ones. We capture their colonies and they blow them up rather than let us use them. This war was supposed to be over in months. Now we are in our second year and we have lost nearly 40% of our fleet. One general dared to speak the thought they were all thinking. Perhaps, Commander, we should negotiate. Offer them terms. End this war before it destroys us both. Roltoxin's 4 fists slammed on the table. Negotiate? With primitives? With a species that has been in space for barely half a century? Never. We will crush them completely, whatever the cost. We will make an example of humanity that the entire galaxy will remember. The general fell silent. No one else spoke on Earth. Ambassador Ji-won received word that the Galactic Council had requested her presence for an emergency session. She knew what they wanted. They wanted to broker peace. They were afraid the war between humans and Dravik was destabilizing the entire region of space. She traveled to the council chambers with Hinwoo at her side, just as she had a year ago. But this time, the mood was very different. The other species looked at her with expressions that mixed respect and fear. Humanity had proven itself in combat. No one was calling humans primitive anymore. Ambassador Thelver approached her before the session began. Ambassador Ji-won, I owe you an apology. When I warned the council about humanity, I was trying to prevent this war. Instead, I may have contributed to it. The Dravik thought they could crush you easily. They were wrong. Ji-won studied the reptilian diplomat. You were right about us. We are dangerous. But we are dangerous only to those who threaten us. The Dravik started this war. We will finish it. That is what concerns me, Thelver said quietly. How do you plan to finish it? Your fleets are still smaller than theirs. Your resources are limited. You have fought brilliantly, but the mathematics of war are against you. Ji-won smiled, but it was a cold smile. Mathematics are only part of war. Will is the other part. And human will is something your mathematics cannot measure. The council session began. The neutral moderator spoke first. The council has called this emergency session to broker peace between humanity and the Dravik Empire. Both sides have suffered terrible losses. It is time to end this conflict before more lives are wasted. Yuan stood. The human government is willing to discuss peace terms. But we have conditions. The Dravik Empire must withdraw from all occupied human territories. They must pay reparations for destroyed colonies. They must acknowledge that the attack on New Jeju was unprovoked aggression. And their military leaders must stand trial for war crimes, including the bombardment of civilian populations. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Those were not peace terms. Those were demands for unconditional surrender. High Commander Roltoxin, attending via hologram, laughed harshly. Unacceptable. The Dravik Empire does not surrender to anyone, least of all to humans. We have larger fleets. We have more worlds. Time is on our side. Then the war continues, Jawan said simply. She gathered her materials and walked toward the exit. Thelver followed her. Ambassador, wait. You cannot win this war. Even if you fight brilliantly, even if you inflict terrible casualties, the Dravik have more ships. They will eventually overwhelm you? Jiwan turned to face him. Ambassador Thelver, thank you for your concern. But you still do not understand humans. We do not measure victory the way you do. The Dravik think they can win because they have more ships. But we will make this war so costly, so painful, so endless that they will beg for peace. And if they do not, then we will take the war to their homeworld. Thelver's eyes widened. You would not dare. Attacking a species' homeworld is forbidden by all civilized laws of war. The Dravik abandoned civilized laws when they bombarded New Jeju without warning, Jiwan replied. They started this war. We will finish it. Whatever it takes. She left the council chambers with Hyunwoo. Behind her, she could hear the delegates arguing in panicked voices. Let them argue. Let them debate. Humans had moved beyond talking dot in a secret military facility on Europa. Dr. Taijin was briefing Admiral Suyon on a new development. Admiral, we have completed analysis of the Dravik homeworld's defensive systems. We found something interesting. Their planet is protected by an orbital shield network powered by fusion reactors on the surface. Very strong, very sophisticated, but it has a weakness. Tell me, Suyun said. The shield generators require constant power. If we could introduce a biological agent into their atmosphere, something that makes their population sick, they would have to divert power from the shield generators to hospitals and life support systems. The shield would weaken. Maybe enough for ships to get through. Suyun looked at the scientist. You want to deploy a biological weapon against their homeworld. Not a lethal one, Taijin said quickly. The agent we developed causes severe respiratory distress but is not fatal with proper medical care. It would incapacitate their population for weeks, maybe months. But they would recover. It gives us an opening without committing genocide. Admiral Suyun was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. Prepare the biological agent? But we do not deploy it unless I give the order personally. This is a weapon of last resort. Understood, Admiral. After Taijin left, Suyun stood alone in her office, looking at a photograph on her desk. It showed New Jeju before the attack. Happy colonists, beautiful buildings, children playing in parks. All of it was gone now, destroyed by Dravik bombardment. She picked up the photograph and studied it carefully. Then she opened a secure channel to Earth Command. This is Admiral Suyun. I am requesting authorization for Operation Ragnarok. Yes, I understand the implications. Yes, I understand there is no going back once we begin. I am requesting authorization anyway. The response came back after an hour. Authorization granted. Suyun began planning the final offensive. Human forces across the galaxy received new orders. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon was to be prepared for one massive coordinated strike. They would attack 50 Dravik systems simultaneously. They would hit the enemy everywhere at once, forcing them to spread their forces thin, and while the Dravik fleet was scattered, the human main battle fleet would do the impossible. They would attack the Dravik homeworld directly, High Commander. Roltoxin received intelligence reports about increased human activity. His analyst told him the humans were preparing something big. He was not worried. Let them come. The Dravik homeworld had never fallen to an enemy attack. It never would. He looked at the tactical display showing his empire's territory. Humanity controlled maybe 50 systems. The Dravik Empire controlled 200. The humans were brave. He would grant them that. But bravery was not enough. He had no idea that bravery, combined with desperation, could be the most dangerous force in the galaxy. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Draxus system. Admiral Suyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical displays populate with enemy contacts. 200 Dravik warships orbited their homeworld. Orbital defense platforms bristled with weapons. Fighter squadrons launched from carrier bays. It was the most heavily defended planet in known space. Suyun's fleet numbered only 80 ships. She was outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Under normal circumstances, attacking would be suicide, but these were not normal circumstances. All ships begin Operation Ragnarok, Suyun ordered. May history remember what we do here today. The human fleet split into multiple groups. Some ships moved to engage the Dravik Navy. Others headed for the orbital defense platforms. A small group of stealth ships, led by Captain Sangwoo in the Silent Vengeance, dove toward the planet's atmosphere. High Commander Rul Toxin watched the human ships approach from his command center on the surface. They are insane. Do they really think they can take our homeworld with such a small force? All ships engage and destroy. Show no mercy. The Battle of Draxus Prime began. Human ships fought with a desperation that shocked the Dravik defenders. Damaged vessels did not retreat. Instead, they rammed enemy carriers. Fighters that ran out of ammunition flew directly into defense platforms. Boarding teams used emergency airlocks to force their way onto Dravik ships, fighting hand-to-hand in corridors and engineering sections. It was chaos. It was brutal. It was unlike any battle the Dravik had ever experienced. Yuna, commanding a human cruiser, watched her shields fail under concentrated Dravik fire. All hands abandoned ship. Set the reactor to overload. We are going out fighting. Her crew evacuated to escape pods while Yuna steered the dying cruiser toward a Dravik battleship. At the last moment, she ejected. Behind her, the cruiser's reactor detonated, taking the enemy battleship with it. On the planet's surface, Dr. Taijin's biological agent had been released by Sangwoo's stealth ships. The microscopic organism spread through the atmosphere, invisible and unstoppable. Within hours, Dravik citizens began falling ill. Hospitals filled with patients struggling to breathe. The military had to divert power from the orbital shields to life support systems in the cities. The shields weakened. Just as Dr. Taijin had predicted, Admiral Suyun saw the opening. All ships, focus fire on Sector 7. The shield is weakest there. We punch through now. Human ships concentrated their weapons on one section of the orbital shield. Energy beams and missiles hammered the weakened defenses. Slowly, inevitably, the shield began to fail. Gaps appeared in the protective barrier. Launch the assault shuttles, Suyun ordered. Ji-hoon, your team has authorization to proceed. Ji-hoon led 500 special forces soldiers through the gap in the shields. Their mission was simple and terrifying. Capture High Commander Rul Toxin alive. Bring down the Dravik command structure from within. The shuttles landed near the military command center. Dravik ground forces were waiting, but they were disorganized. Many soldiers were sick from the biological agent. Others were confused by contradictory orders. The human special forces moved like a blade through the confused defenders. Ji-hoon's team fought their way into the command center. Explosives breached the reinforced doors. Human soldiers stormed inside, weapons ready. They found Rul Toxin in his command chamber, surrounded by his staff officers. The High Commander reached for a weapon. Ji-hoon shot it out of his hand. Do not move. You are coming with us. Rul Toxin stared at the human soldier. You cannot do this. I am the supreme military commander of the Dravik Empire. You cannot capture me in my own command center on my own homeworld. It is impossible. Ji-hoon pulled the High Commander to his feet. We are humans. We make a habit of doing impossible things. Now move! The extraction was violent and costly. Half of Ji-hoon's team died getting Reltoxin to the shuttle, but they succeeded. The shuttle lifted off with the High Commander as a prisoner, flying back toward the human fleet through gaps in the dying orbital shield. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Seun received the message that Reltoxin had been captured. She allowed herself a small smile. Broadcast a message to all Dravik forces. Tell them their commander is in our custody. Tell them the war is over. They can surrender now, or they can continue fighting a war they have already lost. The response came faster than she expected. Dravik ships began standing down. Some commanders refused to believe their leader had been captured. Others saw the truth and accepted it. The battle slowly wound down as more and more Dravik vessels ceased fire. Within 6 hours, the Battle of Draxus Prime was over. The Dravik Empire had lost 70 ships. The human fleet had lost 60. But the humans had achieved the impossible. They had struck at the heart of the enemy empire and brought down its leadership. High Commander Reltoxin was brought aboard the Indomitable in restraints. Suyun met him in a detention cell. The mighty commander looked old and tired now, all his arrogance gone. How? Reltoxin asked. How did you win? You were outnumbered. Your technology was inferior. The mathematics said we should have won. Suyun sat across from him. You never understood what you were fighting. You thought humans were just another species. Just another conquest. But we are survivors. We have endured ice ages and plagues. We have fought world wars that killed millions of our own people. We have split the atom and stared into the void. We do not know how to surrender because surrender means extinction, and we have refused to go extinct too many times. She stood to leave. You could have had peace. We offered you peace. All you had to do was leave us alone. But you wanted war. So we gave you war. And now you know the truth that Ambassador Thelver tried to tell you. Humans are too dangerous to threaten. The Dravik Empire formally surrendered 3 days later. The Galactic Council convened to discuss terms. Ambassador Ji-won presented humanity's demands. The Dravik would withdraw from all occupied territories. They would pay reparations. Their military would be reduced to a defensive force, and their leaders would stand trial for war crimes. The Council accepted every demand. They had no choice. Humanity had proven its strength. No one wanted to be the next species to face human wrath. Ambassador Thelver approached Ji-won after the session. You did it. You actually defeated the most powerful empire in the galaxy. I warned them about you. They did not listen. Ji-won nodded slowly. We did not want this war. We wanted peace. We wanted to explore the stars and build new worlds. The Dravik forced us to become what we are. I hope the galaxy learns from their mistake. What lesson is that? Thelver asked. That humans are dangerous, yes. But we are only dangerous to those who threaten us. Leave us in peace and we will be your friends. We will trade with you. We will share our knowledge. But attack us, and you will learn why we have survived every disaster our homeworld and our history threw at us. The war tribunals lasted for months. High Commander Reltoxin and his senior officers were found guilty of war crimes. They were sentenced to long prison terms on a neutral world. The Dravik Empire was reorganized under Council supervision. Their aggressive expansion stopped. Humanity gained a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Human colonies resumed their growth. New worlds were settled. The scars of war slowly healed on Earth. A memorial was built for New Jeju and all the other colonies that had suffered Dravik attacks. Heyman, now a young woman, traveled from her new home to visit the memorial. She had been just a child when the war started, living on New Jeju when the bombardment began. She survived by hiding in the underground shelters while her world burned above. She placed flowers at the memorial wall, where thousands of names were carved in stone. Friends, neighbors, family members who had not made it to the shelters in time. She read the inscription beneath the names. They tried to break us. Instead, they learned why you should never corner a human. Hyman stood there for a long time, remembering. Then she wiped her eyes and walked away. She had a future to build. They all did. That was what the fallen had died for. Not for revenge or glory, but for the chance to keep living, keep growing, keep reaching for the stars. Admiral Suyun retired from active service 6 months after the war ended. She spent her remaining years writing a detailed history of the conflict. Her final chapter contained a warning to any species that might read it in the future. Humans are indeed dangerous. We have a capacity for violence that shocks even ourselves. We can be ruthless when threatened. We can turn any disadvantage into a weapon. We refuse to accept defeat even when mathematics says we should. These things are true, but they are not the whole truth. Humans are dangerous because we survive. We adapt, we overcome, and once we have survived, we remember. We remember who helped us. We remember who stood by us, and we remember who tried to destroy us. The Dravik Empire learned this lesson at a terrible cost. May others learn it more peacefully. In the Galactic Council chambers, a new phrase entered common use among the alien diplomats. When discussing difficult negotiations or potential conflicts, they would say, "Let us not make this a human problem." It was a reminder, a warning, a recognition that humans, when pushed, would fight with a ferocity that could reshape the galaxy. Ambassador Thelver,